Before I published my parents' uncaring words to me online for everyone to hear, I confronted them with what they had said by sending them the tape via email. Their response? Quote, "Ask yourself how you would feel if we had taped you without your consent and then played it back to you. If you're being honest with yourself, I'm pretty sure you'd be really upset and howling about us violating your trust." End quote. I didn't have to ask myself, because I already knew how it felt to be taped without consent, and my trust was violated. When I was 2 years old, my father videotaped me when I was naked. As he taped, he made comments about how his footage was X-rated, and my mother appeared in the video as well. Thankfully, I was too young to remember what they had done to me, until he showed it to us during the national lockdown of 2020. As you can imagine, being trapped in a house with them was hell on earth, no matter how huge it may have been. I felt disgusting every time they hugged me, and every time they told me they loved me. In a healthy family, those would be good things, but the way they meant them was absolutely sick. Unfortunately, I don't have it in me to give them the punishment they deserve. You may be wondering, how was I able to afford the needs my abusive parents didn't cover, even when I was still underemployed? And that's a good question, because there were quite a few of them. My parents suggested that I should spend less on food to cover those needs, even though they knew I was 27 pounds underweight. The insurance payment alone was 4 times what they were giving me for food. If I had taken my parents' suggestion, I would have died of starvation. Worse still, I had lost most of my savings in the Genesis cryptocurrency scam, also known as Gemini Earn. My parents made sick demands in exchange for less than the bare minimum, and I was desperate to escape that situation, which made me vulnerable to the scam. I only had about a month's worth of expenses saved in Capital One, which I told my parents at the time. Fortunately, Capital One was not my only bank. I had just enough savings elsewhere to pay for the needs they refused to cover, and just when those savings were about to be depleted, the money Genesis had taken from me was returned. While I did feel bad about telling what most might call a lie of omission, I have since forgiven myself for what I had to do in survival mode. Had I told my abusers the whole truth, they would have covered fewer needs, so my savings would have depleted even faster, and I would not have lived to tell the tale. As a bonus, it gave me a chance to see their true colors. My own parents were willing to throw me to the wolves when they believed I needed them most. You may be wondering, why would my therapist drop myself and my parents as clients knowing we still needed help? Well, her exact words to me were, quote, "My services are not a good fit for your current needs. Resuming counseling with me would be a disservice to you." End quote. And this is absolutely true. During family therapy, which is the service she was providing, it became clear that my parents' behavior was the problem, and that they had no genuine interest in improving or making amends. But something else she said, and something she didn't say, lead me to believe there's another reason it was prudent for her to distance herself from our situation.
Because your parents' tendency is to want to find a fault or a cause or a explanation or a something that just makes it go away or kind of smooths it over. Or does that make sense?
Is that what they did with you? Did they abuse you too?
It's a debatable word.
And guess what? He was paying her too. My mother and I used to travel a lot. We flew back and forth between the Charlotte and Providence airports. North Carolina was where she lived, but Connecticut was where I spent most of my time. There, I was required to perform various types of work for little or no pay. Types of work included the preparation and serving of food, janitorial duties, and eventually a so-called internship at Savage Systems in Putnam, Connecticut. Though that does mean she was trafficking me, what really stands out to me about our journeys back and forth was the unwanted touching that occurred throughout. My mother would often smack my bottom in the middle of the airport, even though I was a teenager at the time. It embarrassed me that she touched me like that in front of all those people. I didn't like it, and I told her that many times. In response, she'd always say that it was an accident, and that she meant it lovingly. If it happens numerous times and it keeps happening over the course of several years, despite requests to stop, it is not an accident. And violating someone is not love. At home, my mother would also squeeze my sides and grab my arm as a form of discipline. Even an offense so minor as inappropriate language would be followed by my mother violating my body. She would also make threats to kill me and call it a joke. I don't find the idea of infanticide very funny, especially when I am the intended target. Though some may see my mother's actions as less severe than my father's, she violated me much more frequently than he did. Though some may see her as a victim because she is a woman and my father is a narcissist, her actions were harmful and illegal just like his were, and she deserved to be punished just like he does. And if I ever treat a child the way they treated me, I hope someone will have the courage to kill me.
Your dad has actually looked at my naked body.
Are you okay with that?
No. But just going back, it does take two to tango.
This is the third known victim of Dr. Benny Dwayne Roberts. First his own son, then a therapist who was trying to help him and I, and now a children's librarian, a pillar of the community. How many good people must this man abuse before someone will stop him in his tracks? How many more has he already abused that we don't even know about yet?